Hey guys, Roman Reaper here. So I'm outside the cinema, as you can see, and before I head in, I'm going to have to remember my manners. Yep, I'm about to head in to see Paddington in Peru. Really looking forward to this. I goddamn love the Paddington films. They are, both absolutely delightful, especially the second. Some of the best family movies out there. So I am looking forward to seeing how this one stacks up when compared to the greatness of that second film. So there's only one way to find out. To head in, get my snacks, get seated for Paddington in. So yeah, I've got my popcorn here and a blue fruits and Fanta, Paddington's duffel coat colour, ready for the return of our favourite marmalade lemon bear. So yeah, Paddington in Peru. I'm back from seeing it. Of course, this is coming to us 7 years after the second film, which I think at this point everybody and their dog is in agreement is, it's one of the greatest films ever made, including Nicolas Cage.
Paddington 2 is incredible.
I fucking told you.
Obviously, notably, Paul King is, not in the director's chair for this one. He took a step back from the franchise and instead went off to direct Wonka, which ended up being a real pleasant surprise. Obviously, taking his place is Dougal Wilson, who primarily has directed adverts before this, but he has been fully vetted by Paul King, so we should hopefully be in safe company. But are Wilson's efforts enough to match the sheer brilliance of those first two Paddingtons? Let's find out. So in the film, Paddington has officially become a UK citizen after receiving his British passport, which he is soon able to put to use because he's received a letter from the Reverend Mother at the Home for Retired Bears expressing concern for his Aunt Lucy's recent behaviour. And so the Brown family head out to Peru to the Home for Retired Bears to check everything's okay, only to discover that Aunt Lucy has vanished. And so they enlist the services of riverboat owner Hunter Cabot to travel through the Amazon in search of Aunt Lucy. So obviously, it is worth addressing that obviously the bar for this film is very high. But those first two Paddingtons are absolutely fantastic. Some of the best family entertainment out there. There's something for everyone. True four-quadrant family films, and I gotta say that does ring true here once again. Although I will say, it's a definite step down from the first two, easily the weakest in the franchise. But I can safely say that I did still enjoy myself. Now, obviously, where you can sort of feel Paul King's absence is in the story. Is obviously this time around, it's that sort of family movie franchise thing of right, we're trying to think of what to do with these characters. I know, send them abroad, as they're sort of thrust into this Indiana Jones like adventure, and you can bet your ass there is a very deliberate reader's reference in there. So you can sort of see some of that genuine imagination that Paul King brought has sort of been lost in translation. But in saying that, it is a story, as overly familiar as it is at least entertainingly told. The characters are delightful company, and there's some real fun little whimsical flourishes in there, including a painting animation that was really fucking cool. And there are at least laughs to be had, once again, from Paddington's fish out of water circumstance. whether it be him struggling with an instant photo machine or doing battle with a hammock. There are plenty of very, very funny moments to be found here. And the film does look good overall. You know, it's shot fairly well. It's very vibrant and colorful, and I believe a lot of this was actually shot on location in Peru. And yeah, it kind of shows. It is a gorgeous looking film, although it does sort of feel in a way a bit like an imitation of what Paul King brought to those first two films. But it is a decent imitation nonetheless. Now, obviously, what you're here for is the characters, and yeah, they are delightful company once again. Obviously, Ben Whishaw is, is once again super likable as Paddington. You know, he's, so charming and, performance full of, politeness and good manners. He's great. And the CGI to bring Paddington to life, once again, stellar. It is very funny that all three of these Paddington films have come out in the same year as a Planet of the Apes. Obviously, the first came out the same year as Dawn. The second one was the same year as War, and obviously this year Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes came out. So it is nice that these two franchises with a very expressive, fully CGI central characters are coming out about the same time. It's a nice little connection. The human cast around Paddington is delightful once again. Obviously, Hugh Bonneville as Henry Brown, as once again risk averse as ever. Although this time around he's been told by his new American boss, played by Haley Atwell, to embrace the risk. And this leads to some very funny moments of this incredibly, risk-averse man being thrown into the treacherous dark jungles with a very funny arachnophobia recurring gag. He's great. Obviously, this time around, Sally Hawkins isn't here to play Mary. Instead, filling in the role is Emily Mortimer. She's this time around. Mary is obviously struggling, to deal with the fact that her kids are getting older and they're not really spending any quality time together anymore. And I have no doubt that Sally Hawkins would have done a great job with this arc, but Emily Mortimer is a more than worthy replacement, and she does do a very good job with it. Now, I will say in regards to the kids, they are definitely sidelined here. Obviously, Judy is about to leave home to go off to uni, and Jonathan has become an incel gamer who sprays Lynx Africa and is so bound to his bedroom that even simple things like closing the door require a contraption to do it for him. These are kind of interesting arcs, but they don't really go anywhere. But I think that's more than made up for by the fact that, the two big star additions really leave an impression. Obviously, we have Olivia Colman as the Reverend Mother, who's, this singing nun who is constantly reassuring us that, there's nothing suspicious going on here in a very funny recurring gag. And in a neat little flourish, she gets some fun little song numbers, very deliberately paying homage to Sound of Music. It's a cool little flourish of Wilson's that I definitely would have liked to see a little bit more of, but you can tell Coleman is just having the time of her life in this role. Also absolutely brilliant is the great Antonio Banderas as Hunter Cabot, who is, this dashing, suave riverboat owner who has the dark secret of that he sees and talks to the ghosts of his ancestors, which is a very funny recurring bit, in which Banderas, gets to do lots of extravagant hair and makeup and experiment with funny voices. He is just absolutely brilliant here. And of course, this is the longest in the franchise by a hair, and but it keeps up a fairly decent pace throughout. Obviously with its comic set pieces and likable company, ensures that and the pacing is just right. It never feels like it's overstaying its welcome, but it never feels like it's just rushing along to get to the next comic bit. It's fairly entertaining overall, and there's some twists in there, some of which you might see coming, but there are some also in franchise tradition, a very heartwarming ending that left a huge smile on my face. And be sure to stay in your seats for the credits as well, because there's some extra scenes there which are very funny, although do serve as a great reminder of how brilliant Paddington 2 was. And yeah, overall, Paddington in Peru, it's not as good as the first two, but honestly, the Paddington franchise at its weakest is still better than most franchises at their best. Make of that what you will. Overall, out of 10, Paddington in Peru gets a 7. So yeah, let me know down in the comments. Have you seen Paddington in Peru? What did you think of it? What do you think of it in comparison to the first two? And what big stars would you like to see join the franchise next? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.